Do you ever feel like you're working your tail off, but your bank account just isn't getting the memo? Yeah, you are not alone. So today, we're going to dive into the work of Ramit Sethi, the author of I Will Teach You to Be Rich, and break down 7 super common financial habits that might be secretly holding you back from building wealth.
Let's just start with this question, because honestly, it hits home for so many of us, right? That feeling of stress or anxiety around money, that's exactly why understanding these habits we're about to talk about is so powerful. And this right here, this is the absolute core of Ramit Sethi's philosophy. See, building wealth isn't really about complicated spreadsheets and being a math genius. It's about your mindset, your behaviors, and maybe most importantly, the stories you tell yourself about money. So here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll break it down into 5 parts. We're going to start with the big picture. Then we'll drill down into those specific habits that trip so many people up. And then we'll wrap up by looking at how you can start designing the life you actually want to live. So, let's get into it.
Okay, so the whole foundation here is that if you really want to change your financial reality, you have to start with what's going on in your head, your beliefs and your behaviors. Seriously, if you can get your mindset right, you'll be blown away by how fast your financial situation can start to turn around.
All right, now that we've set the stage, let's jump into the first batch of bad habits. These are the ones that keep you in this constant state of panic, always playing defense with your money instead of actually being in control.
Ramit says this one is the single worst habit of them all. Just pretending your money problems don't exist. You know what I'm talking about? Not looking at your credit card statements or telling yourself you'll start investing someday. Look, that avoidance, it only makes things worse.
So, the solution is actually pretty simple, but it does require you to take action. First, make a plan for any high-interest debt you have. Get that debt-free date on the calendar. And then, and this is the game changer, you have to automate your investments. Set up an automatic transfer of 5 to 10% of your income every single month. This is how you build wealth without even thinking about it.
Okay, habit number 2 is getting obsessed with what Ramit calls $3 questions instead of focusing on the $30,000 questions. And what I love about this slide is just how clear the contrast is. We spin our wheels worrying about these tiny, insignificant savings while we completely ignore the big wins that can actually change our lives.
I mean, just think about this for a second. That tiny little 1% annual fee on your investments, it can literally eat up over 28% of your total returns over a lifetime. That's not just the number on a screen. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. That could be a down payment on a house or retiring 5 years earlier. That is a $30,000 question.
The third bad habit, it's always playing defense. Are you the person who's constantly refreshing your stock app, worrying about what the Fed is going to do next, or checking your bank balance like 5 times a day? All of those are just signs that you don't have a solid automated system working for you in the background.
Okay, let's keep going because the next couple of habits are all about the stuff that's invisible, the beliefs and the goals that are quietly wrecking our best intentions. These are your internal roadblocks.
So, habit number 4 is being controlled by what Ramit calls invisible scripts. These are basically the stories about money we all picked up when we were kids, and they run in the background, shaping our decisions, and we don't even know it's happening. Think of them like subconscious rules you've been following your whole life without even realizing it.
Oh yeah, here is a classic one. We've all heard this, right? But is it always true? Absolutely not. Depending on where you live, your lifestyle, and your goals, renting can actually be a way smarter financial move than buying. But this script can lock you into a huge decision that just isn't right for you.
Ugh, this script is just so damaging. All it does is create stress and shame. It stops us from asking questions, from learning, from getting better. I mean, think about it. How can you ever expect to improve at something that you refuse to even talk about? It's time to break that silence.
And this one is just completely 100% wrong. Nowadays, with technology, literally anyone can start investing with just a little bit of money. Believing this script means you're locking yourself out of what Ramit calls the single greatest tool for building wealth in history. Right on the heels of that is habit number 5, setting these vague, totally meaningless goals. This slide just nails the difference, right? Getting better with money isn't a plan, it's just a wish. But a SMART goal, it's specific, it's measurable, it's something you can actually do. It's basically a clear instruction you're giving to your future self.
All right, let's get into the last 2 habits. This is where we go from just talking about problems to actually taking action. It's about how we spend our money and, more importantly, adopting a completely new way of thinking about what money is even for.
This is where things really start to change.
Habit number 6 is super simple. It's spending your money without any kind of plan. You see, the secret to living a rich life isn't about cutting back on every little thing you love. It's about being intentional and consciously directing your money toward the things that you value the most.
And here is the tool to do exactly that, the conscious spending plan. It's so simple. You just divide your take-home pay into 4 buckets: fixed costs, investments, savings, and, my personal favorite, guilt-free spending. Yeah, that's right. A huge chunk of your money, 20 to 35%, is meant for you to spend on whatever you want without an ounce of guilt. How amazing is that?
And that leads us perfectly into the final bad habit. Number 7, living with a scarcity mindset. This is when your default answer to anything that costs money, especially spending on yourself, is just an automatic, reflexive no. It's that little voice in your head that just screams, "I can't afford that," before you even let yourself think about it.
So here's the crucial shift we all need to make. We've got to move from that place of scarcity to a growth mindset. Money isn't the scary thing to be hoarded away, it's a tool, and its whole purpose is to help you build and live your rich life to its absolute fullest potential. It's time to start using it.
And that really brings us to the final big idea. Overcoming these 7 habits isn't about restriction or deprivation. It's about empowerment. It's about finally shifting from this defensive, reactive crouch to proactively playing offense and designing a life that you are genuinely excited to wake up and live. It is about taking back control.
So, we're going to end by leaving you with this question. And don't just give a vague answer like freedom. Get really specific. What does your rich life actually look like, day in and day out? What are you doing? Who are you spending your time with? Because as Ramit always says, no one ever gets rich by accident. You have to define it, you have to plan for it, and then you have to go out and build it.